What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the PT Coffee Cast, brought to you by The Movement. My name is Dalton, and alongside me today is my beautifully bearded friend, William. William, how are we doing today?
Doing good. I mean, how can you not be happy in this shirt?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
It's very bright, vibrant.
Yeah, it is. It's got some nice oranges on it, kind of gives the Florida vibe.
Yeah.
And we definitely have whatever the opposite of that is right now. So, thought I'd bring a little Florida in here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The vibes are definitely high. You got a haircut from the last time we recorded an episode.
True.
Which is always good.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Because I saw the last episode, and if one thing wasn't great in it, it was my hair.
And you let your barber, which is my barber as well. Shout out to Dre. He's probably not listening to this podcast, but shout out to him. You let him trim your beard.
Yeah.
Which is like, from my understanding, like, that's a sacred thing, is it not?
Sacred territory.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that just shows the amount of respect.
Yeah. I think, you know what it was? Maybe we can learn something from this. Because I think it was his demonstrating his knowledge. Like, he was like, what do you try to do when you trim your beard? And he was like, oh, I think you did this well. Normally what I look for is this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. And then it's like, hit me with the, do you want me to trim your beard?
He asked you.
Yeah.
Permission-based.
Permission-based.
Man, we'll go on a little tangent here before we get into the episode, because this is not what we plan on talking about, but I do like this. I think, like, the barbershop is a great place to learn how to communicate. And the service-based industry, like, it's very similar to what we do here in terms of, like, how you communicate. It's one-on-one. You're trying to really, you're having a big impact on someone. I think even, like, when we think about the barber, it's like, that's a massive impact they're having on your life by cutting your hair.
Totally. I mean, it's totally changed my confidence with doing this podcast.
Yeah.
But no, I think, like, it's funny. We actually talked about that.
Yeah.
And he was like, because at first he was kind of like, oh, there's a lot of differences. And then I was like, actually, I think there's a lot of similarities, And then we got talking about it, and it was like, oh, yeah, like, whether you're a barber or you're a physio, like, the bottom line is you're trying to gain trust so that you can, execute whatever plan you're doing. And in this case, it was my beard.
Yeah, and, like, the environment of that place, the way that it's set up intentionally, just having had conversations with Dre and the kind of vibe they're giving, and, like, that's all very intentional, and it elicits a particular response. And I think even just the way that he set up the environment allows for people to feel more comfortable, to enjoy themselves more, to feel like they're cared about, which whenever you're talking about, like, a service-based industry, that is, like, what people are looking for. Obviously, you need to execute on the service you're providing, which they do to a very high level, but the expectation in that industry and the expectation in physio should be that we deliver on a high level. Like, that is just, like, the standard. Everyone should be delivering at that level. It's like, but what are you doing to show that you care, provide an environment, provide an experience that someone feels attached to or feels cared about? Because that's what's going to keep people coming back.
Yeah, like, obviously he's just a personable person, but also it was how he was, like, kind of, like, strategically building my trust with what he was saying, what kind of questions he's asking, the confidence that has in his voice, even just the fact that, like, he has a nicely well-trimmed beard.
Yeah.
We're like, I mean, am I gonna trust some guy with a shaggy beard?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you touch my beard.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting, right? And there's a lot of things that, like, you even hit on right there. And we talked about this in the New Year's episode that we did about you going on your nutrition journey and trying to learn that process and the ups and downs and the perspectives that you're going to gain from that. And when people are trying to navigate physio and their rehab, they're going through a particular journey that is similar, and you can add your perspectives from your experience to them because you're going through a process, especially around, like, if it's very health related or physical related. If a physio is going through some similar journey as a client, that relatability and perspective from that client to physio is going to be very powerful. It's exactly what you're saying there is like, you look at, Dre, and he's got a nice beard. You can tell like, all right, this guy knows what he's doing. He can relate to me on this front. I'm going to trust this guy to kind of take me to the promised land of the beards more than I'm going to trust someone who's cutting my hair and shaving my beard that has this raggedy ass beard. And he's like, yeah, I just lined this up yesterday. Right? So I think there's a lot there that makes sense.
So much there. Like, even just the fact that like the way he sort of went about it was in a way where it didn't make me feel bad about the job I was doing with it. It was more like he kind of was like, hey, actually, like, I don't even trim my own beard. Like, I can, but I find it difficult just with the way you have to look in the mirror. It's kind of hard. You're sort of like doing this, and he's like, so I actually find it's easier for me to just let somebody else do it that I trust. And so, like, I don't feel bad that I suck at trimming my beard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like, actually, I did a decent job,
for trimming your own beard.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Which is like, there's a lot of relatability from a rehab standpoint, because there's a lot of people that come into us that actually do a pretty decent job of rehabbing their situation, or at least getting the process started, or have tried in some way to do that. And for us to acknowledge that and then share with them some ways that they could optimize what they're doing. And that's intentionally set up in the way that you ask questions, the way that you position yourself, the way that you set up the plan, how you communicate. Like, that doesn't just happen. Those are intentional things that completely changes the experience that client has, and the trust and buy-in that they have with like working with you.
Yeah, because there's a huge difference between being like, yo, man, you did a terrible job trimming your beard, like, I'm gonna do it, and versus like what he did.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, totally.
Which, like,
has happened.
That stuff happens.
100%.
And you're kind of just like, okay, maybe that's true, but like, I don't
like, come on, bro.
Like, I want to be chilling when I'm going to like get my hair cut.
But that's like, that is very like a abrasive way of like entering into helping someone, which I've had stories from clients who have had that experience going to physio, where they felt like they were basically just like ridiculed for like doing all these things that they were doing, and felt very uncomfortable with that, and they didn't go back there because of that. And it's probably no knock on the knowledge that person has and their ability to like rehab a knee injury, but when your communication and your approach to how you're addressing those things is very like confrontational, or blaming the client and saying you're doing all these things wrong, when this person is just really trying to like figure out how to get better, like, they're not going to want you to help them.
Yeah, it's, when you're in a service industry, it's not the things you do, it's how you go about doing it that ends up making the difference in whether you achieve an outcome or not. Like, we all know you want to progressively exercise with most things, right? Like graded exposure. But can you get people to buy into that? Can you get people to trust that it's okay to have discomfort? Can you get people to, commit to the whole process, even when things maybe start feeling better? Like, those are where the real skill comes in.
Totally. And like, to tie it even further to like how you even got to see Dre, and I like where this episode's gone, because there's a lot of what we're talking about here is what we talk about in our mentorship from our perspective, right? And so having gone to Dre first and having a great experience there, and a big part of why I've continued to go back to Dre is, one, he does a really good job, but two, the environment, the experience, everything we just talked about is on point. I've been going to him for over like years now, and you and I have talked about Dre. You've seen my haircuts from him, and I know you're very particular with your haircuts. And then a year later, you finally went in to see him, and now you had that experience with him. And that's how we talk about filling our caseload with clients that fill you up. That is the exact same thing. He's doing that with cutting hair, and we're trying to utilize those things to do it from physio. And the automatic like buy-in, trust, that you already have with him from me communicating to you the type of person he is, the experience that he provides, the job that he does that you can actually visually see, your trust level is so high going into that experience that you know that he's going to take care of you, and he probably also knows that he has that with you through that connection, and that whole situation is like super powerful, and that's how you, from a caseload standpoint, from a clinic, can continue to attract people that you really want to work with. Because I'm sure, I don't want to put words in Dre's mouth, but I'm sure he enjoyed that experience with you.
Yeah, I mean, and it was like immediately like, oh, you work with Dalton? And then he knew a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you guys have had these conversations and he remembers it and he's developed a relationship, and then the experience matched what you were saying. It's consistent. He clearly does this stuff every time, especially when he's meeting someone for the first time. So it's like, it's that consistent process of doing things the right way that's leading to what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that I love where this.
I know.
I think we wrap up there with this topic because
it's an episode.
Yeah, I think it just highlights a lot of those things, and this is why we preach all the time, to people that we mentor, to our clinicians here, and you and I do this a lot. Is like, pay attention to how your experiences are when you go into other service-based industries, because you're going to learn a ton about how you can be a better clinician, and it has nothing to do with any modality, any treatment approach, any system screen, nothing like that. It has everything to do with what we just hit on, and you can pick up so much from that. And it's very clear when people do that really, really well. And don't get yourself fooled. That is intentional, and that's been practiced, and that's been built on for years, I would imagine. And so start building that in yourself, start building that in your clinic, start building that in your business, because that's what's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, and I think it can help to look at where it is intentional, where it isn't, because I think there is sometimes where people are just naturally gifted at that kind of thing, and they just do it without even thinking about it. But then there's other times where it's clearly built into the culture, the community of whatever that business is, and identifying because obviously the main thing we're saying is you can control it. You may not be someone that naturally is like that and thinks of those things, but you can get better at it and be more consistent with it. It is a skill.
Yeah, a skill that can have a big influence on outcomes.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I love that episode. That made me happy. Guys, if you like this episode as well, make sure you subscribe to the PT Coffee Cast on your podcast platform. Make sure you head over to YouTube to see Will's beautiful haircut done by Dre at Andiamo in Hamilton, Ontario. His beautiful beard trim, his orange shirt. So much that you can get on the YouTube channel that we're trying to grow to 500 subscribers. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel for the full episode. And if you guys want to learn more about the mentorship, head over to themovementmentorship.com. We have all things mentorship there. But that's all we got for today, guys. As always, stay caffeinated. Peace.
That was awesome.